Center to get working people trained and placed in open positions in public service clerical work and in jobs in the logistics industry. This is a new opportunity to advance your career and raise standards across the region. Visit 1932trainingcenter.org to enroll today. That's 1932trainingcenter.org.
You've tuned in to KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Are you graduating high school soon and wondering what to do next? College is one option, but why not consider the high-paying jobs made possible by union power? Labor Union Teamsters Local 1932 has opened a training center to get you into the high school to high-paying job pipeline. You'll learn all the skills needed to excel in opportunities across industries. Visit 1932trainingcenter.org to enroll today. That's 1932trainingcenter.org. One of the best ways to build a healthier local economy is by shopping locally. Teamster Advantage is a shop local program started by Teamster Local 1932 that has brought together hundreds of locally owned businesses to provide discounts for residents who make shopping locally their priority. Everything from restaurants like Corky's to fun times at SB Raceway and much, much more. If you're not currently a Teamster and you want access to these local business discounts, contact Jennifer at 909-889-8377, extension 224. Give her a call. That number again is 909-889-8377, extension 224.
Miss your favorite show? Download the podcast at kcaaradio.com.
Labor unions built the middle class, and the middle class built America. That's the message from Teamsters Local 1932, a strong and successful labor union based in San Bernardino that represents over 14,000 hardworking people across the Inland Empire. The Teamsters are ready to help you organize for better pay, increased benefits, and improved working conditions. Reach out to Teamsters 1932 at teamsters1932.org/organize to speak with an organizer today. Are you underpaid and overworked? Is a living wage and employee benefits like affordable health care more? Welcome to the Rick Smith Show. We don't take orders from some boardroom, and we don't do focus groups or talking points. We don't work for them, and we never will. I'm Rick Smith, and I work for you. Join us daily at thericksmithshow.com and download the podcast and never miss a minute.
It's time for the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is the voice of the working class, Rick Smith.
And welcome, brothers, sisters, working class heroes. This is the Rick Smith Show. Thanks so much for being here today on the big program. Lots to get to, lots to talk about. The big story of the day, obviously, our Supreme Court in total disarray today. I gotta be honest. I'm shocked at the number of people surprised. Email box full of people. Can you believe what they've done? Can you believe they're actually going to do it? People going, oh my gosh, can you believe? Yes! Where have you been for the last several years? Yes, this is what they have told you they are going to do. I'm sorry, Susan Collins, I never bought I looked into their eyes and they told me they would never do this. Never bought it. Either you were a fool, naive, or you were in on it. This was always going to be what was going to happen. And all of this shock, I can't believe it. Oh, I can't believe. What can't you believe? How is it that we're this dense? How is it that we as a society have been listening to Republicans for 30 years say, when we get the chance, when the dog catches the car, we're going to chew the bumper off of it, and then we're going to eat the tailpipe, and then we're going to chew the tires, and then we're going after the driver. And then when they get the chance to chew the driver's leg off, then were surprised. I'm really struggling with this because, now people are like, oh my God, what's this going to mean? This is going to mean, well, abortion's going to be illegal in a large number of states across this country. And it's going to be ugly. It's going to mean that poor and working class women are going to die. That's what that's going to mean. It's not being hyperbolic. It's our past. It's what took us to get to the moment that we've taken for granted for way too long. This is not surprising. And what I find interesting is the Republicans, they're not talking about the issue. No, their outrage. Oh my goodness, their outrage is that someone leaked. Someone leaked what I knew and have been saying for the longest time is the inevitable outcome. Someone leaked it early. John Roberts, the reason leaks are so rare is because of the professionalism and the loyalty of the staff. Could it be that the people who work there are no longer happy with your leadership? Think you're doing a horrible job? Think the institution is in massive decline? Could that be it? Or could this just be pure political hackery? Could this just be conservatives doing what conservatives do? Because I guarantee I would put my last dollar on this, that this was a conservative hit job. This didn't come out of a liberal justice's office. It's my view, this came out of Alito's office. This was a political hit job because from now, this moment forward, it's all going to be about abortion from now to election time. We're not going to be talking about debt reduction or how to pay for college, or we're not going to talk about infrastructure. We're not going to talk about anything in Build Back Better. We're not going to talk about any investments in the future or anything else. Ukraine, nothing. This is going to suck all the energy out of the room. Exactly what Republicans want. And that January 6th thing, this is going to supersede some of that. They needed this distraction. This was a conservative hip job. No question about it. And here's the thing. We, the people, think it should be legal, safe, rare, and legal. The majority of the country is on the side of leaving it the hell alone. It's decided law. It's what the justices told Susan Collins, that either she was too naive or stupid to believe that they were lying to her. It's decided law. That's where most Americans are. Now, Joe Manchin's still not going to move on the filibuster because that's the only way we're going to hold on, I guess, to him, the only protection for democracy. I guess not knowing what democracy is. Lindsey Graham, again, angry. Oh, angry, Lindsey. Oh, got to know who did this. I don't care what your motives were. You've done a lot of damage to the country. Don't know if we can repair it. Never mind the issue. No, it's the leak. That's the breach of trust. Never mind the women who are the poor and working class women who are going to suffer because of this. Never mind. And the reality is working class, you just lost another battle in the class war. Because banning abortions and women's ability to determine their future is just another way of controlling the poor and the working class. And because here's the thing, rich women, they're going to get to go over where they want. They're going to get what they need. They're going to have doctors come to them because that's how it was. Now, for me, this idea that, again, sitting in this chair, observing what the right says, observing what they do, gives me a perspective on where things are going. And look, I've been talking about this issue, not my issue. Understand, abortion is not my issue. I'm never going to have one. I'm an old white guy. Never going to have one. Personally, not in favor of them. If my family would have one, I would try everything to not. But understand, it's not my position to say whether a woman should or should not. It is certainly not the government's position to say, and it is most certainly not some religious zealot ideologue's position to step in between a woman and her doctor and her family and her conscience. Nowhere in that does religious zealotry belong. But I digress. As I was sitting thinking about this today, I've been watching conservatives for a while, and we've been talking about this. This idea of grooming. We hear the conservatives yell, "Wow, those pedophiles, they're grooming the children." Is this not grooming? Now remember, when they talk about something, it's all about projection. Listen to what they say, then watch what they do. Look at Tennessee. Do away with the marriage age, and you've got people who want to marry 13-year-olds. That's coming. And they're not going to be liberals. They're going to be, good God-fearing folk. Again, what they say and what they do. They've been talking about grooming. And I was thinking about this today. How is this not grooming the next generation of women to be barefoot, pregnant, and dependent at home? How is this not to make them the next generation of handmaidens? How is this not putting them back 100 years? How is this not hyper right-wing overreaching government? I mean, are we grooming them to be barefoot and pregnant? Are we grooming them to be subservient to men, little baby factories? Because, hey, you'll hear this on the right a lot. You know, these uppity women getting these powerful jobs. That nasty woman who ran for president, who, by the way, was absolutely freaking right on every single point that she brought up in 2016. How long is it going to take before they take away all the rights? Stop and think about what this decision means. This is monumental. This is taking something away. Generally, when the Supreme Court does something, it's expanding rights. It's moving forward. This is yanking something away. This is making things worse for individuals. And I got to go. How long before we repeal more of the 20th century? How long before we take the rights of women to vote away? Before we take away their right to own property, right to work outside the home, the right to an education? Because this right to self-determination is a big deal. This right to privacy is a big deal. Now, again, let me be very clear. This is not my issue. But I do have 2 daughters. This is their future. The future of women in this country could get a lot worse. And what's interesting to me is our folks only seem to care about the preborn. And I was looking at the talking points that the Republicans put out with the NRSC, the National Republican Senate Committee. A lot of attack the Democrats as radical. They want on-demand abortions and up until the last minute. You know, telling that story that, you know, when my wife and I were having children, we could race to the hospital at 1 o'clock in the morning, and, you know, before the baby popped its head out, we could decide which way we going with this. We having it or we nixing it. They want you to believe that that's possible. It's not. But that's what they want you to believe. They want the most extreme. And that's what their talking points were. Their talking points are about, oh, no, we want to avoid it. Oh, no, we care. We support pregnant women, except our policies are horrible. We've done nothing on the policy level to encourage people to want to bring children in this world. We've done nothing to ensure that kids get an education. We've done nothing to ensure that they get health care. We've done nothing to ensure that families want to bring kids in. No, we care about the preborn. But once you're out, you're on your own, brother. These are scary moments. These are frightening moments in a country where we had been about expanding rights. And now we're going backwards. And we've got an ideologically driven Supreme Court that is hell-bent on repealing the 20th century. Now look, you know, this isn't the end of this. There's more coming. And this is where the working class of this country has to understand there's a class war going on. You know, the assault on workers' rights a couple of years ago with the Janus decision, that's a part of it. This assault on women's rights, this is a part of it. There is more coming. The question is how much are we willing to put up with? How much of this are we willing to tolerate? Now, we live in a very dangerous moment technologically. I saw a story over at Motherboard that pointed out that for, I think it was $160, you can get a week's worth of data to find where people went who visited a Planned Parenthood, where they went, where they came from, by tracking their phones. For $160, you could get this information. I'm not making this up. The company's called SafeGraph. They ultimately obtain location data from ordinary apps that you put in your phone, from prayer apps to the weather apps. They collect it, they send it to a third party, send it to U.S. military contractors, all kinds of stuff. So even if you're fortunate enough to live in a state where, or near a state that it's not illegal, because everyone's saying, oh, but Rick, it's not going to be banned. They'll be California. California is a safe haven state. You can just go to California, unless they track you there, and they do what Texas wants to do, have a bounty hunter law. This is dangerous. And that's who these people are. This is a loss of your privacy. This is a privacy issue. And yes, I know this is a man's point of view, and it is. This is this is why everyone should be concerned with this from the privacy standpoint. From a woman's standpoint, this is your right to self-determination. This is a big part of that. And you should be concerned, as we all should. I want to get your thoughts. 1-866-416-RICK, 1-866-416-7425. Going to take a quick break. Back on the other side with your thoughts. If you're just joining us, make sure you grab the podcast. Never miss a moment of the program. Back after this. If you're a fan of the show, you've heard our labor history in 2 segments, and you can hear them on the radio pretty much anywhere in the U.S. Labor history has never been more important than it is right now. So here's what we'd like you to do. Tell a teacher. Tell a teacher that labor history is important and that they can get digestible 2-minute lessons that are absolutely free. Free to download, free to use, free to share. Tell a teacher to go to thericksmithshow.com/history and help us put labor back where it belongs, in the classroom. You know, generations of American workers fought, bled, and died to build the American way of life. It's our job to keep their stories alive. Go tell a teacher that we're here to help them do just that. Find us at thericksmithshow.com/history today.
Welcome back to the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is Rick Smith.
You know, I got an email the other day from Cole. Thanks for the email, Cole. Appreciate it. Cole pointed to me to this documentary, Fighting for Lincoln, The Wide Awakes. And I remember learning about this back, when I was in high school. It was one of those things that, the kind of activism of the day, the kind of political rhetoric of the day, the yellow journalism kind of stuff, the heated back and forth, because every generation thinks that, oh my God, we're in the most heated time ever, the most this, that, and ever. No, this was brass knuckles in the streets, brawling kind of stuff. And Cole asked the question, has someone engineered a civil war in reverse? Because what the Wide Awakes were fighting for was the end of the abolition of slavery. They were fighting for something better. Whereas right now you have this kind of activism that you're seeing, the torch wielding, uniform wearing, tiki torch folks, who are kind of taking that model, but wanting to go backward. Wanting to do everything that they did just in reverse. And this is one of those moments where we better wake up and we better do it. We better do it quickly. Let's go to the phone lines. Got Alice on one. Alice, what's going on?
um, these people are not thinking things through at all. But as usual, we have to force these religious beliefs down other people's throats. But I was speaking to one of my evangelical neighbors, and they were all excited, of course, about the, abortion being outlawed. And I said, well, what about the people who are raped? Should they be punished and every day for 9 months relive this and then have to raise this child? And they said, well, they can always put it up for an adoption. And I said, there are hundreds of thousands of children in foster care. And they said, in all seriousness, well, that's why you pay people to be foster parents. I said, excuse me? So what you're saying is this is another money-making opportunity?
Yeah.
And they were like, well,
Well,
God
Gene,
put you in the
Gene
womb.
Schmidt, Mean Gene from Ohio, did say this is an opportunity. So, yeah.
Well, I'll give them an opportunity because I think it's outrageous that you have 12, 13-year-olds that have been raped, and now they're going to have, their bodies aren't even formed yet. They want to outlaw medical abortion. So, you have an ectopic pregnancy, and, well, you're just going to have to die or become sterile, I guess. It's insane what they are doing to people. And all for their big book of fairy tales.
See, I see it as, it's not insane. They have a plan. Their plan is male dominance. Their plan is the fairy tale book, as you say, has the man as the head of the household. That is their worldview, and everything then trickles down from there. That's their worldview, this kind of control of women that, look, as an old white guy, I could live in that world. Problem is, I got daughters. I don't want them to have to live in that world. I don't think anyone should. I believe in life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. I believe in equality. I believe in those things. This world that we're moving towards doesn't. And that's the thing that I think people need to wake up to, the reality of, I'm shocked that people still were surprised this morning that the Supreme Court was going to do this. I got a number of emails from people going, I can't believe it. How can you not believe that this happened? They told you it was going to happen.
They've told us that for years. They've told us that. And, another thing that really gets me, a few years ago, there was a big pro-life thing going on because this couple, I believe it was in Kentucky, they had been advised to abort the pregnancy because the child, I forget exactly what it was, but it just barely had a brain stem. It wasn't Tay-Sachs disease, though. And, okay, so we spent millions of dollars for this child to be born, and then they had these GoFundMes, and the child was on around-the-care medical care for 5 years.
Yeah.
So who's going to pay for that?
See, those are questions, and they don't have answers. And
Exactly. Well, you have a good evening, Rick.
thank you, Alice. I appreciate it. No, this is part of it. And we're not taking care of the people we have now. We've got hungry children who go to bed every night. We've got homeless people. We've got real problems. And this, like I said, look, I'm not someone who is in favor of abortion. I would like to not have it not happen. But this is draconian. This is not how you do this. Because remember, these are the same people who the policies they brought us, and it comes back to policy for me. The policy they brought us was abstinence only. Head in the sand control, which doesn't work, which does what? Creates more situations where abortion is possible. I say education is important. I say opportunity to prevent. The plan B should be front and center, but they're against that too, which leads me down the path of what's next. And I've been saying for years, and again, this isn't my issue, but eventually the privacy component of contraception is going to come up. They've already said this. And then all of the other things, all of the other progress of the 20th century, same-sex marriage, interracial marriage, all of those other things that, you may be against. And here's the key to this, and this is where living in this country is amazing. You may be against abortion. Don't have one. You may be against same-sex marriage. Don't do it. You may be against interracial marriage. Again, don't do it. You may be against anything. You know the great thing about this country? You don't have to do it. No one is telling you that you have to. See how wonderful that is? But we do have a conservative movement telling you you cannot. And we won't let you. We're going to make big government ensure that you don't. Now remember, these are the people who tell you want small, less intrusive government, going to get government out of your life. And what have they done? They've put it right in your bedroom. They've put it right between you and your doctor. They've decided that big government is going to, by default, decide your life. We're in for a long road here. Now, will this energize people to finally awaken? Will this backfire? Because, like I said, I think this was a conservative leak. I think this was something to rile the conservative base, get them all tingly in the panties and foaming at the mouth. Because there was a little energy gap going on there. I'm curious to see how this plays out. And on the left, will this energize people who didn't see it as a possibility? We're going to find out. I'd love to hear your thoughts, though. You can email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Tell me what you think, what you know. Were you surprised? And then why? Please explain the why you would have been surprised. I do need to know that. If you missed any of the program thus far, podcast. Get that wherever you get your podcasts. Also, like I said, email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Right back after this. I'm Rick Smith, and this is Labor History in 2. On this day in labor history, the year was 1911. That was the day the state of Wisconsin passed the Wisconsin Workmen's Compensation Act. The state became the first to have a constitutional system for providing medical expenses, wage loss payments, or death benefits to employees or their families. The law is regarded as a pioneering act of social legislation and a major accomplishment of Wisconsin's progressive movement. Activist journalism exposed deadly and disfiguring working conditions in the country's industries. State industrial commissions were established to conduct factory inspections and demand reform legislation and regulations. Upton Sinclair's initial intent in writing The Jungle was to cultivate a public outcry for better and safer working conditions. By 1907, the Russell Sage Foundation funded dozens of investigators to study industrial and social conditions in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. 2 volumes of essays were produced, entitled The Pittsburgh District, Civil Frontage, and Wage Earning Pittsburgh. The essay, Work Accidents and the Law, written by Crystal Eastman, exposed the enormity of work-related accidents and deaths, and the failure of employers to compensate victims and their families. Her investigation examined several industries, including railroads, steel, and coal mining. She noted, quote, "There is no bright side to this situation. By industrial accidents, Allegheny County loses more than 500 workmen every year, of whom nearly half are American-born. 70% are workmen of skill and training, and 60% have not yet reached the prime of their working life. Youth, skill, strength, in a word, human power is what we are losing." Eastman's survey worked to shift the burden from workers to employers. It is largely credited with the passage of workers' compensation laws, though it would take decades for similar laws to be enacted in states throughout the nation.
The problem with our so-called free market is that it's not free for you and me. It's largely controlled by monopolies, which are free to inflate prices just because they can, letting gougers gleefully extract unwarranted monopoly profits from us. This milking of consumers by tightly consolidated industries is propelling today's surging price hikes. Brand-name corporations claim they're being forced to mark up price tags just to cover rising costs for raw materials, labor, transportation, etc. But in a competitive marketplace, they'd have to eat much of those increases by taking a bit less in profits. Indeed, Monopolies are now raising prices simply to squeeze even greater profits from hard-hit consumers, a game of corporate greed that socks America with more inflation. Consider diapers. A year ago, Procter & Gamble announced that the pandemic was driving up its production costs, forcing it to raise prices for its Pampers brand. At the time, it had just posted a quarterly profit of $3.8 billion, so P&G could easily have absorbed a temporary rise in its costs. But instead of holding the price to ease their customers' economic pain, the conglomerate used a global health crisis to justify upping diaper prices. 6 months later, P&G's quarterly profit topped $5 billion. And in that same quarter, P&G spent $3 billion to buy back shares of its own stock, a Wall Street manipulation that artificially bloats the wealth of top executives and other big shareholders. In short, P&G used the excuse of inflation to inflate the price of their diapers, then used the extra money it extracted to inflate the value of its stock to benefit rich shareholders. This is Jim Hightower saying, well, couldn't consumers just switch to Huggies, the brand sold by P&G's main competitor? No, for it's a co-monopolist, having also goosed up its prices.
Welcome back to the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is Rick Smith.
I love the fact that we've got someone in charge of our trade policy who actually cares about our trade policy. Look, you know, I look at this Kathleen Tai, and I love the fact that she's looking at how we move our trade policy in a way that's going to move us in a direction that it's going to actually help working people. I know as she pointed, globalization point one was about cheap goods and ensuring that, the corporate America gets fat and happy. And hey, maybe we get a benefit too, because cheap goods, we're told cheap goods, better life. Except the jobs kept going away and our wages kept going down. And well, we weren't really getting the cheap goods because the prices kept going up. And now with inflation and the supply chain stuff, are we moving towards a new world, something I've been asking about? That's why I've asked our good friend Scott Paul to come talk with us. Scott's the president of the Alliance for American Manufacturing. Is the era of cheap goods over? Is there a new horizon coming? Make sure you check out his website, AmericanManufacturing.org. Scott, thanks for taking time for us.
Hey, Rick. It is great to be with you tonight.
So I'm looking at this interview that our trade rep Catherine Tai did, and I'm happy. I'm happy about the fact that she seems to get the real problems that we have, and seems to be looking at actual solutions for working people, and not so much only business interests.
Yeah. The trade ambassador has been A+, in my book, and Rick, let's both acknowledge this. This is a huge change from past Democratic administrations, right, with respect to trade policy, because their trade ambassadors, their economic policymakers have been very pro-free trade, have been, I don't think that they've had working people at the center of their trade policies. And, clearly, we're a year and a half in just about to the Biden administration. And what we've seen so far, they're practicing what they're preaching on this. And so there's obviously going to be decisions that are going to be made over the next couple of years, and we'll have to keep steering them in the right direction sometimes, because there's a lot of other folks that want that other point of view to pop back up, that old point of view. But so far, it's been good. And so when there's been a lot of pressure to take tariffs off, they have generally resisted, unless can work out an arrangement that industrial unions say, you know what, we can work with this, right? This is going to be we see a path forward here, and I think that is both a breath of fresh air. It's long overdue, And it's something obviously that isn't going to make the headlines today or any other day, unfortunately. But it's something that people need to know, because one of the reasons why a lot of, particularly, white male working class voters went over to Trump was they feel like Democrats abandoned them on trade policy and economic policy. And so here you have a trade ambassador who really does want to put working people at the center, at the heart of the administration's trade policy.
Now, in the interview, she brought up the fact that, after World War II, we had this mindset that, countries that trade together, countries that have close relationships, don't end up warring. We were building these relationships, and the old George Carlin bit was, you have a little war, then you go in, you whip a little industry on them, and now we're buddies, and we give away our wealth, we give our jobs away, and we're buying alliances. That hasn't worked so well in the long term, because we've basically given away our productive capacity. I mean, we were the global manufacturer for decades, and now we're getting our behinds kicked, to be honest. And it's not even that we're losing; it's we've surrendered it because of corporate interest, and I think that's what's most angering to me, and I think the average working person. We didn't really even get to compete. These were corporate boardrooms who did this. These were policy decisions that most working people didn't even get a chance on.
Yeah, you're right. So first two things, boy, do I miss George Carlin. What a wise and funny man. But you're right about this. I do think that at the outset, like if we're talking, even in the early '60s with Kennedy, I don't think that there was, any malintent. I think there was just, I want to say naivete, maybe, it's a little naive, but I thought at the time there was this Cold War mindset. It's like, you know what, we can make allies with other countries if we let them import a little into the United States, which is by far the largest consumer market of the world at the time. But what we'll do, and this was part of I think it was like the Trade Act of 1962, which lowered a lot of tariffs. We're going to enforce the laws so that they're not going to hurt workers, and we'll provide some adjustment if they need to move to new industries, which theoretically will pay more. So I don't, that was the idea. Yeah, that turned out to be just not the way it worked out, because you point this out. Once these companies got big and global, they were like, you know what? It's not that we're going to sell products into Africa or Asia, but man, there's a lot of workers that we can utilize at a fraction of the wages, because there's substandard labor laws, there's no enforcement, and we can bring the products in to the United States, and we'll make even more money. This is going to be great.
Yeah.
And you're right. They hijacked trade policy at that point. And Catherine Tai is one of those people, and I would say, Bob Lighthizer in the Trump administration was another, in many respects, that are trying to yank it back and to take it back and say this has to be in the national interest, not in your shareholders' interest, because they aren't necessarily aligned at all.
Yeah, and this brings me to, there was I think it was a New York Times article here recently that asked the question, is the era of cheap and plenty ending? And I've been saying it should have never been. I mean, the idea of good quality products, you want to pay for quality. We've been getting a lot of cheap garbage for a long time, and in the long run, it's not really cheap. You just keep buying stuff, and they've turned us into consistent consumers of the same products. You go back and you could talk about things that you bought of good quality, lasted for years, but you've had to buy 15 times. Did you really save anything? No, but you had this illusion that, oh, I saved a little bit now and I got something cheap. I think we need to rethink this model of disposable everything, this society where, maybe we're going to pay for good quality stuff. We're going to hold on to it. I'm hopeful that the future is going to be better than the last several years.
Yeah. Look, I agree. And I will say this, for people who live paycheck to paycheck, it's hard to tell them, what you should pay more for staples that you need. But people also need to know this fact. That T-shirt that you buy at Walmart that is made in China or somewhere else, maybe made somewhere else in Asia, you're not, the price you're paying is not reflecting the true cost to the globe of that shirt. And consider it, the cotton could have come from Xinjiang and been harvested by Uyghurs who were basically forced into forced labor. And so there is a cost there. There's a human cost there that is extreme. It may have then been processed in a facility that doesn't meet environmental laws and is soiling the water around that factory. And those people are suffering and may have higher cancer rates or other health impacts related to the environment. And then it's on a ship that runs on bunker fuel. And the global shipping industry is responsible for a significant amount of carbon emissions every year. It's something like 5 or 6% of all carbon emissions come from just these ships, and that's not accounted for in the price in any way. So you're getting and so I think that until we are more realistic about who's bearing these costs and what they ultimately mean to our planet, to our brothers and sisters in other countries, and then to the workers who get displaced here and the suffering that they have and those communities have, we aren't going to get this right. But that's not the way that the purveyors of like free trade theory or these big companies want to portray it. You're going to get the low price, Rick. And you won't have to deal with any of the consequences. It's great.
Yeah, you're going to get a deal. You're going to get the deal. Everyone's going to get the best deal. I love that. You're listening to The Rick Smith Show here with Scott Paul. Scott's the president of the Alliance for American Manufacturing. AmericanManufacturing.org is their website. Check out the incredible stuff that they do. But, for me, it's the jobs. It's I'm going to pay a couple extra bucks for an American-made product because I know it's going to be a quality product. I know it's going to be well-made. I know it's going to be made right. And I know it's going to be made by workers who are going to make a reasonable living wage so that they can support their family. This, to me, is the business of, I'm pro-business as anybody else as long as you're doing it on the right parameters, as long as we're competing in the right way. This race to the bottom that we've been engaged in the last 30 years has been harmful and destructive to communities and families and working people. I want to be competing on the right thing. Who's paying their workers the good wage? Who's providing them health care? Who's providing them retirement security? How are we lifting people up? How are we sharing? I would argue, while our trade policies have been horrible, our tax policies have been even worse because we've given all these companies so much money that they literally have no idea what to do with it, Scott. UPS is spending $2 billion on stock buybacks. To me, I learned in economics class, that's a company saying, we have no clue what to do with any more money. We can't invest in more vehicles. We can't invest in more facilities. We can't invest in more workers. We got nothing to do. We got nothing. We just got all this cash laying around. To me, that's the wrong thing.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right, is that when you have companies that are, it's like, what should we do with this? Should we have a big hot dog roast, or should we give the money back to our and do a stock buyback? Those are the types of decisions that they're making today. It's not about capital investments in the United States or paying workers better or having a full health care and retirement plan. In the like we were, I think, more accustomed to a couple decades ago, and it's because the incentives are all wrong.
Yep.
You were absolutely right on that.
Those $2 billion should be going back to the workers. That's just my view on it. And the people who actually created the wealth. Just my thought. Now, for me, the idea, and this is why I'm thrilled that the Biden administration is moving in a positive direction. Thrilled that a friend is the head of the Buy American department. I love Celeste, and I love Celeste direct the work that she's doing there. I understand the administration is beginning a plan for an electric car battery facilities. Like what, $3 billion they're putting into this?
Yeah, this is on top of, they've made a number of announcements already about leveraging, American production to build out a public charging network for electric vehicles. This is incentivizing companies and original equipment manufacturers to have their battery and battery-related parts supply chains in the United States, and to acknowledge that there's some capital cost that's involved with doing this at the outset, and that China is throwing way more money at these companies to try to do it, and we have to put some skin in the game to do it. Now, we should expect things from these companies to get it. We should expect there to be neutrality with respect to efforts to organize. We should expect living or prevailing wages and benefits. We should expect them to be good corporate actors, and so it shouldn't be a giveaway. But I do think that it is another milestone on this road, Rick, both to buy America and to make sure that the vehicles that we are making in the future are both electric and American made. And American made is the key thing here, because that's the biggest question. It's pretty clear from all the companies' plans that they're going to go big on electric over the next couple of decades. The unanswered question is, where the heck are these things going to be made? Biden administration seems like it's doing a lot of things to ensure that production and those jobs are going to be right here in the United States, that we can transition workers from the combustion engine plants into these other types of manufacturing.
Yeah, and for me, the important part here, and this is a big thing for me, this would be, and you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, this would be the first technologically giant leap forward where we've actually held on to the technology, we've held on to the advancement, and those jobs have stayed here. I think if I remember the story of the rotary phone going to the cordless, going to the cell phone. We lost that technology. We lost those jobs because they were somewhere else. We're going to hold on to that. We've lost a lot of the auto parts jobs. We lost all the auto parts jobs, really. Delphi and all that stuff. We've sadly lost that. This is, as a country, reclaiming those industries, and I think that's exciting, and I think it's important.
I think it's really exciting. And just to your point, of all the billions of cell phones and smartphones that exist in the world today, all of them, not a single one is manufactured in the United States of America, which is just hard to imagine, because virtually every aspect of the technology that goes into that was the product of a U.S. corporate invention or a publicly funded invention, and yet not a damn one of those things is made here. All right, I'm on a rant now, but this is the point, is that we have industries that we developed all of the stuff, and they're made everywhere else. I'm glad that Biden understands, and you understand this too, that in order to leverage the jobs here, you got to make sure it's made in the United States. It's not enough to just say designed in California. You got to make it here if we want that middle class revival, and good jobs for all of those Americans. And it's the vast majority who aren't going to go get a 4-year college degree, who want to work with their hands and their minds and want a well-paying job. Those are the types of jobs that manufacturing can provide if we have the opportunities here in the United States and we aren't shipping them overseas.
I'm right there with you. You can calm down. That Hoosier anger is showing, man. I'm right there with you. Good stuff. But Scott, as always, spot on. I appreciate the time, the thoughts. I hope folks will check out the website, AmericanManufacturing.org. We'll get links out on social media. As always, good stuff. Appreciate the time, brother.
Hey, Rick, thank you. Keep up the great work for working people. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, our good friend Scott Paul. Make sure you check out their website, AmericanManufacturing.org. He's the president of the Alliance for American Manufacturing. Love to hear your thoughts. 1-866-416-RICK, 1-866-416-7425. Should we be making it here? Abso-freaking-lutely we should be. Back after this. I'm Rick Smith, and this is Labor History in 2 on On this day in labor history, the year was 1919. That was the birthday of folk musician Pete Seeger. Seeger and his music would become staples of the U.S. labor movement. He was born into a musical family. His father was a scholar of musicology, and his mother was a concert violinist. During the 1940s, Pete Seeger joined with folk music legend Woody Guthrie to form the Almanac Singers. The band traveled the country supporting the Congress of Industrial Organizations. At picket lines, union meetings, and workers' rallies, Pete Seeger was there providing the music for the movement. In the 1950s, Seeger became the target of the anti-communist hysteria that swept the nation. He was blacklisted, shows were canceled, he lost a recording contract. Yet despite this repression, Seeger kept singing the songs of working people and standing up for justice. During the 1960s, the civil rights movement, the anti-war movement, and the environmental movement all marched to Pete Seeger tunes. When Seeger died at the age of 94, labor leader Jen Fuentes reflected on the impact of his music in an article in USA Today. She said, "These songs are what allowed workers to sustain themselves during times of adversity. He's a legend in the labor movement for his folk music." Brought to you by the Illinois Labor History Society and The Rick Smith Show. For more information, go to laborhistoryinto.com.
You're listening to The Rick Smith Show, where working people come to talk.
Well, I thought the good people of Ohio would have voted for J.D. Mandel. The write-in. I was hoping for it. I know if I still lived in Ohio, I was going to vote. I was going to write in J.D. Mandel. But nope, J.D. Vance, the Trump-backed candidate, is going to be the Republican nominee for Senate. And it should be an interesting race. I'm still pulling for Tim Ryan. I think Ohio could be great. Sherrod Brown and Tim Ryan as their senators. Could be like it was when I was a kid, when they had Howard Metzenbaum and John Glenn, two decent senators. Well, we'll see. Looking forward to it. Welcome back to The Rick Smith Show. Check out our website, thericksmithshow.com. Quick shout out to the more than 1,000 workers at CNHI Industrial plants in Racine, Wisconsin, and Burlington, Iowa. They're on strike now. They're the folks who make the Case and New Holland agricultural and construction machinery. You've seen them on construction sites, backhoes and the front-end loaders and stuff, fighting for better wages, hours, and conditions. So, brothers and sisters, wish you the best. One day longer, one day stronger. We are with you. Best on that. We're going to be reaching out to have some folks try and come on and talk about what's going on there. Also, this past week, not great news out of New York, as the Amazon workers there in the second facility of the Amazon Labor Union voted down the union at Amazon. And this is one of those things where, the stories now coming out that you find that Amazon, took a little different tact, shortened the work days, gave longer breaks, gave them less work to do, more flexible time off, extra voluntary hours stuff. Made it a pleasurable place to work. Oh, we now care. Look how wonderful we are. Lots of, how special you are. This is part of it. Change tack a little bit. Learning and understand, for me, organizing, having a voice in the workplace is vitally important. At a place like Amazon, they can giveth, as they have done, and I guarantee they will taketh away. If you looked at the pandemic, all of the companies who, you're so wonderful, you're essential, you're frontline heroes. Oh, we're going to give bonuses, hero pay, essential worker pay. And then, it's all clawed back. That's going to happen. And this is one of those things I was explaining to my daughter. My daughter's like, well, things are great. All these jobs are paying, $15, $18, $20 an hour. I go, no. Wait till down the road when things start to get a little tighter, the workforce gets a little tighter. They're going to start clawing this back. If you don't get it in writing, if you don't have a contract, you don't have anything. Right now Amazon's going, hey, we're giving you $15 an hour, $18 an hour. Oh, look how wonderful we are. The second they get the chance to claw this back, they're going to. As soon as they can get somebody to come in to work for less, they're going to. That's how it works. Now, I found it interesting that some of the voices of people who were interviewed for stories were like, well, I didn't think it was realistic that they could get $30 an hour. I go, yeah, that's a negotiating tactic. We want $30 an hour, like warehouse workers back in the 70s and 80s were making in today's dollars. And what's interesting to me is how little we as working people, I think of ourselves, how little we value our time and our labor, how little we think of the value we bring to a company and how important we are to them. This is a problem we have in this country. And for me, worker militancy and worker power is something we need to be talking about at every turn. Because without you and me and the people who actually do the work, our billionaire class, well, they don't have businesses. And they're wildly profitable. Look at their lifestyles. Look at their profit lines. Look what they're telling each other in their profit calls. This is this moment where working people should be stepping forward and saying, you know what, look at the wealth that I am creating for you. I would like some of it for my family. I would like to be able to put food on the table all month long. I would like to keep a roof over our head months down the road. I would like to ensure that we have health security and retirement security. My kids get a good education and that American dream. And how do we do that? We organize. We bargain. We fight. That's simple to me. So I'm sad to see what happened in New York at the other Amazon facility. But this is not about the end. This is about encouraging, engaging, and activating workers. Just my thought. Love to hear yours. Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. If you're just tuning in, make sure you grab the podcast for those who...
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
Complaining the West is stuffing Ukraine with weapons, Russia bombarded railroad stations and other supply line targets across Ukraine. But at the Pentagon, spokesman John Kirby says it may have been more Russian talk than action.
Their ability to target with precision has been less than advertised throughout this entire war. They are not good at precision strikes.
The European Union moved to further punish Moscow for the war by proposing a ban on oil imports. The EU gets about 25% of its oil from Russia, most of which goes toward gasoline and diesel for vehicles. The Supreme Court's apparent intention to abolish a nationwide right to abortion, spelled out in a draft opinion leaked this week, will not be the final chapter in the nation's most pitched cultural battle. Democrats in states where the right to an abortion is enshrined in law are bracing for a wave of legal attacks and other maneuvers seeking to undermine access, including from other states. Isaiah Lee is being held in Los Angeles, accused of tackling Dave Chappelle during a performance last night at the Hollywood Bowl. Security guards chased and overpowered the attacker, and Chappelle was able to continue his performance at the Hollywood Bowl while the man was taken away in an ambulance. This is AP News.
KCAA. Come to Hooters, where there's no such thing as a party of one. Located with the 60 and the 215 meet in Riverside, near Moreno Valley. For more info, Google Hooters Riverside.
There's only one thing you think of when you think of Hooters. Wings.
Wait, what?
With more styles, better flavors, and fresher wings, you could only be in the original American wing joint. Get them smoked, bacon-wrapped, original style, and now introducing new roasted wings. Roasted crispy to seal in the flavor and seal out half the calories. One taste and you'll think of nothing else.
We'll see about that.
Come to Hooters, where there's no such thing as a party of one. Located with the 60 and the 215 meet in Riverside, near Moreno Valley. For more info, Google Hooters Riverside.
There's only one thing you think of when you think of Hooters. Hooters, the original American wing joint.
This segment sponsored by the generous support of the Dream Team. Looking for the keys to something bigger and better? Downsizing or relocating to the perfect spot? Oscar Ramirez from Century 21 Lois Lauer Real Estate and Matt Flores from Secure Choice Lending are here to help you sell or buy with their trusted and experienced knowledge and advice. People are calling Oscar and Matt at 951-751-3249. That's 951-751-3249. Real estate and loan advisors Oscar and Matt can give you a no-cost consultation. You don't have to buy anything. Matt and Oscar can help you figure your way through the complicated real estate market. Email Oscar at loislauer.com or on Instagram at Oscar Ramirez Garcia and Matt Flores at securechoicelending.com. Don't let today's real estate pitfalls stop you from dreaming. Make your new home dreams come true. DRE number 0207-0344. Se habla español.
If you're ready for a Las Vegas vacation, here's an offer you can't refuse. The Vegas Travel Center is offering 3 days and 2 nights in Vegas free. Just call 909-406-7400. The offer includes accommodations with 2 free tickets to Great Las Vegas Entertainment with free meals. So if you're planning a trip to Vegas, you need to jump on this right now. Just call 909-406-7400. Obviously, an offer like this is not going to last. So call now, 909-406-7400 for your 3-day, 2-night Vegas vacation. That number again, 909-406-7400. Call now.
You may think every weather app is the same until you see WeatherBug over-deliver on so many layers. With more free map layers than any other weather app, WeatherBug warns you the moment lightning strikes near you, prepares you for your commute with road conditions, routes, and even cameras. With everything from pollen and air quality to severe storm risks, radar, and satellite coverage, WeatherBug prepares you for the unpredictable. Download the WeatherBug app, trusted by over 10 million users, today for free.
Miss your favorite show? Download the podcast at KCAAradio.com.
You're listening to the Tahibo Tea Club radio show, hosted by Milan Vukovic, founder of the Tahibo Tea Club.
Welcome to the Tahibo Tea Club radio hour. My name is Milan Vukovic. I'm the founder of the Tahibo Tea Club. Without my father, John Vukovic, there would be no Tahibo Tea Club. My father was diagnosed with colon cancer that had spread to the pancreas in 1998 at the age of 86. He started receiving treatment at the Houston Medical Center, which is the biggest medical center in the world, bigger than Boston. Because the size of the tumor on my father's pancreas was the size of a half a brick, I was told that there wasn't anything they could do for my father and that I needed to put my father's affairs in order since he had about 2 months to live. So, of course, I started planning a funeral. I called our friends and family and told them how grave the situation was and told them that if they wanted to see Dad, they only had a couple of months and they might want to do so now. One of the families that came to pay their last respects to my father came and brought Tahibo tea with them. They said Tahibo tea cured their brother from cancer. I looked at them incredulous as if they were Martians or something. I mean, my dad was getting treated at the Houston Medical Center and no one was saying anything other than to plan a funeral. And these people were telling me that the tea's going to cure my dad? But of course, I was polite to the people since they came to pay their respects. In any event, after they left, I cooked up the tea, and my father figured if he had 2 months to live, what's the difference if he's drinking the tea or water? He has to drink something anyway. So he's drinking the tea, and 2 months later, when they put him on a CAT scan machine, they thought their CAT scan machine was broken because they couldn't find a tumor on his pancreas that used to be the size of a half a brick. So they said to my father, you know, the hospital right next door here at the medical center also has a CAT scan machine. Since you already drank the contrast dye, we'll phone them and you can walk over and they'll take a picture so you don't have to come back and do it all over again next week when we get a machine fixed. So my father walked next door. They took a picture. They couldn't find any cancer either. My father is now 86 years old. He's been cancer-free for over 20 years. And not only is he cancer-free, he's in such good health, he takes care of my garden and even mows my lawn. I mean, I'd be embarrassed about it if he didn't enjoy doing it, and I know it's good for him. Our customers always get a kick out of it when they ask me how my dad's doing, and I tell them as long as he's mowing my lawn, he must be doing pretty good. The tea's certainly been a blessing in my family's life, And God willing, our tea will have the same benefits for you, your family and friends as it has for mine and so many others. Not a week goes by that someone doesn't call in with a truly miraculous recovery. Bone cancer, brain cancer, breast cancer, prostate cancer, mesothelioma, leukemia, diabetes, you name it. And not a day goes by that someone doesn't call in with some type of a success, whether it's just beating toenail fungus. Well, toenail fungus may not be imminently life-threatening, but if you have it, you don't like it. The Tahibo tree is an amazing tree. It never gets sick, never gets infected, and never gets infested. As a result, the highest potency Tahibo comes from the inner bark of the tree where the arterial and vein system, called the xylem and the phloem, in the tree reside, which brings nutrients to the rest of the tree. And that's why we only harvest mature trees over 40 years old in the rainforest of Brazil. The harvest method we use is to semi-strip some outer bark to get to the inner bark without cutting down the tree and allowing the tree to heal itself so they can be harvested again. It's also the only tree in the world the fungus doesn't grow on. So as a result, it naturally has antifungal, anti-infection, antiviral, antibacterial, anti-inflammation, and anti-parasite properties. These benefits go a long way to helping our immune system contend with a lot of things it normally has to contend with on a daily basis. Parasites would be something like stomach problems. Inflammation would be something like rheumatoid arthritis. Infection would be any infection from a tooth infection to a bladder infection. Viral would be something like herpes. Bacteria would be something like gum disease or stomach bacteria. And fungus would be something like toenail fungus or candida. But maybe more importantly, what the tea does is build the red corpuscles in the blood which carry oxygen to our organs and cells. Our organs and cells need oxygen to regenerate themselves. Our immune system needs oxygen to develop, and cancer happens to die on oxygen. So the tea is great for healthy people because it helps regenerate new cells. Everything from the cells in our skin so we look better to the cells in our organs so they function properly. And it can truly be miraculous for somebody fighting a potentially life-threatening disease such as diabetes or cancer. In future programs, we'll discuss Tahibo tea versus AIDS, anemia, arthritis, asthma, bronchitis, other types of cancers, colitis, diabetes, diverticulitis, eczema, fungus, gastritis, gonorrhea, gout, HIV, impotence, infections, leukemia, lupus, Parkinson's, prostatitis, pyorrhea, rheumatism, ringworm, ulcers, virus, and yeast infections. One time a customer asked me, he says, boy, it sounds like the tea helps with everything. It does.